Okay, so welcome to this edition of ABN Cast. My name's Lee Hayhurst. I am editorial director of ABN, and I'm delighted that we're bringing this edition of ABN Cast to you in association with our sponsors, Amadeus. We've brought the equipment down to West London to meet our interviewee today, Chris Hancock of Avioxx. I'll introduce him in a minute. To talk all things about sustainable aviation fuel and what they're up to in terms of this really important aspect to the aviation industry going forward. So welcome, Chris, and thanks for
thank you.
So let's start off with Avioxx. To explain what it is, what's the idea, the concept, how did it come about?
So Avioxx is a new clean tech company that was established a year ago, and we make sustainable aviation fuel from household municipal waste. Okay. We've got three founders. There's Mike Hancock and Steve Wilkinson, who are veteran chemical engineers based in the northwest of the UK. And we're accelerating the development of the business. We're using novel technology to be able to manufacture sustainable aviation fuel at scale, and with the target of price parity with fossil-based aviation kerosene.
So this is new technology that's not used elsewhere currently. Is it already proven, or are you still in the stage of testing it and proving it?
So I come from a software tech background. I've built a couple of tech companies before. Mm-hmm. And what my major insight with this is that with chemical engineering and science, you can actually do a lot of the modelling before the manufacturing. So we're at the stage where we've gone into in-depth simulation of the system, which does use various different technologies, and I think there's about 6 different reactors that we're using within the process. And what's different is that we introduce what's called a solid oxide fuel cell. Now, this is new technology that dramatically increases the efficiency of the production of the fuel, which allows us to increase the amount of carbon that's captured within the manufacturing process and reduce the price, so the operational cost of manufacturing the fuel, which allows us, in theory, currently, to be far more competitive.
Okay, and so any form of normal domestic household waste, the kind of things we throw away every week in our black bins and get delivered, taken away from our houses, that can form part of this input, can it?
Exactly. So as well as having a tech and a software background, I'm also an environmental engineer from university, so it's really nice to apply my environmental skill set using a tech methodology to a chemical engineering industry that is in need of modernisation. So just going to what's called the feedstocks. So that's what you put into the start of the process. We're focused on household municipal waste because the major insight is that 50% of the waste, the household municipal waste, still goes to incineration or landfill. And obviously, incineration and landfill create huge amounts of CO2 output. So instead of sending it to incineration or landfill, we can convert it into fuel because it's the same molecules and the same atoms ultimately. The process just reorganizes the atoms and the molecules to be able to generate synthesized Jet A1 fuel. Okay. So just just going back to your question about the feedstocks and the waste, we're also looking at other feedstocks. So as a secondary potential source of energy, we're looking at fabrics, which are also polyesters are hydrocarbons. We're looking at dense plastics and ocean plastics potentially, because dense plastics are they contain a lot of hydrogen and carbon. And other things like wood and organic waste as well are other feedstocks that we can potentially use to generate fuel.
Yeah, so it's almost like a double win here in that you're saving the CO2 from the waste itself, and then producing a more carbon efficient fuel for the airlines to use. So you get a double bubble. Exactly,
and it's a really interesting business from a revenue perspective because the waste management companies currently get paid a lot of money to process waste. So with Avioxx, we're sort of generating revenue from a waste management perspective, but then we're also generating revenue from a fuel sales perspective as well.
Yeah, and are you pioneering this technology? Are there others around in the global sphere of this, sort of also pushing along this? I know there's loads of different potential technologies out there that are being tested. Are you ahead of the game in this particular one? Where do you think?
Well, what's really exciting is that Dr. Mike Hancock and Professor Steve Wilkinson have actually got a patent on the technology, and they've been maintaining that patent for a long time. And it's only really recently that, in the past year or so, that we recognise that actually we can apply this technology of the use of solid oxide fuel cells to the production of fuel. So we are the only people currently globally who are using these types of reactors to generate fuel.
Yeah.
And I think there's a broader point that the early companies and the current market within the UK have got a very traditional approach. And actually, what we're also trying to demonstrate is that there are innovative ways, and innovation and science can actually, it's the answer, and those are the solutions that we're looking for.
Yeah. Now, obviously, what brought you to my attention was a recent announcement of some funding from Trailfinders, which are most people will know them from the high street, as a travel agent.
We're absolutely thrilled and so excited. And what's more important is that we really like them as a business. We really get on with them. They're a family company as well, and they provide us with access to all the major airlines globally. They have a wealth of knowledge and experience in growing businesses, and they're also based just down the road from us. So we're absolutely thrilled. And this pre-Series A round of funding allows us to complete the detailed engineering design of the demonstration plant, which is a 5,000 tonne per year plant, before we scale up to a 32,000 tonne per year plant. It also allows us to enhance our lab capability so that we can do a lot of research and innovation into the methods that we're using to produce the fuel. And then the regulatory aspect of it as well is absolutely key. So in the UK, there's SAF Clearinghouse, which has recently been set up over the past 6 months, I think, and they're sort of part of the University of, independent, but part of the University of Sheffield. And there's a third work stream that we recognise, which is really important, which is the quality and assurance and regulatory aspect of the fuel. So that's the third thing that we're working on, and after these phases of work, we'll then go into the development of the first plant, hopefully next year.
Where will that be?
So Mike and Steve are based up in the northwest. I'm from the northwest of the UK. There's a huge amount of talent and experience and knowledge in the northwest, and also there's the fuel infrastructure, because Stanlow Refinery, which is based just outside of Ellesmere Port, has access to the Excellium pipeline networks, and also we blend the fuel with traditional fossil fuel initially to be able to achieve the targets of 10% SAF fuel by 2030.
Okay, so all the infrastructure is in that part of the world. So, and for Trailfinders, I guess, as a company, but they're a travel agent, they're involved in travel. What they get out of it is to be seen to be doing something really important for the future of the industry, because clearly the focus is on an industry like travel operating more sustainably, and that's super important. So that's I guess that's why they have got on board with this. How did that come about? Did they find you? Did you find them?
Well, so we've been operating for a year before the CEO Toby reached out to us, and I think we'd created enough awareness, and we generated a little bit of visibility within the marketplace to be recognised as a a viable and legitimate solution. And I think for them, firstly, I'm sure that they recognise it as a genuine investment opportunity, because the fuel market, the aviation fuel market, is 360 billion per year, or it will be as we approach 2050. This is a new industry, a nascent industry. 80% of that market is going to be sustainable fuel. There's a few solutions out there, and we have this novel technology, which is super exciting. Yes, I think there's I think from a travel industry perspective, the airlines are facing a lot of pressure from shareholders, ESG requirements, and customers, crucially. And working with Trailfinders really gives us access to those insights to be able to understand how the market works and also help us navigate it.
Yeah. Does this only have applications in aviation, or did you choose aviation as being the best case to get into?
So Lee, that's a really interesting point, and what I've learned as well since developing the business with the chemical engineers is that we use what's called Fischer-Tropsch reactors. Okay. And these are actually well-established technology that take gases and convert them into hydrocarbon liquids. And with these reactors, you actually get different types of hydrocarbons, which also include paraffins, which is basically petrol, and diesels, and diesel. And we're focused on aviation, and not to get sort of too technical with all of this. However, as your audience will know better than me, is that electric planes are very difficult to fly because of the weight of the batteries, and it's very nascent technology. But also the other alternative for aviation is hydrogen planes, which again is very nascent technology, and hydrogen is very volatile. So the best solution that the market seems to have decided is that sustainable aviation fuel is a genuine solution. And crucially, we can use the same infrastructure, so the same aircraft and the same engines with the fuel. So it's a transition phase. Over the next decades, as I'm sure innovators will start to develop aircraft that are even more efficient in the future.
Yeah, but like you said, there are other alternatives being developed. Electric's one, and I know a few developers of electric aircraft. Hydrogen, I think EasyJet themselves are looking at hydrogen very seriously. But actually, it's SAF where airlines are being targeted now seriously, that they need to be having this SAF in their aircraft by, say, I think said 2030. And the problem is, they're all looking around and going, well, there's not enough supply, so you can mandate us, but we can't even get hold of it. And they're kind of tearing their hair out, thinking, well, we're going to be penalised in the future for something we can't even get hold of. So is this is potentially this an answer? Could it be on stream quickly enough to make sure those targets are hit?
So I think it's all about delivering. I think it's all about getting the plant operational as quickly as possible. Now, I think the science element and the current market are, we've got to use SAF. But actually, if we can use science and innovation to make SAF at a cost comparable price to kerosene, to fossil-based kerosene, that's got to be the answer. Because the big picture here is that we're in a climate emergency, and we need to get solutions in quickly that are viable. Now, I do think that governments and regulators around the world do have a part to play to be able to facilitate that transition. But I see it as a commercial opportunity, and the science is currently proving it.
Yeah. Looking at the industry more holistically, do you see electric and hydrogen playing a role? Because we can't, I suppose, discount any solution at the moment.
Of course, and you're absolutely right that this is a multi-pronged approach. Whether it's the efficiency of the aircraft, whether it's using electric planes for short-haul flights, whether it's putting research into hydrogen technology. I think we all need to use the different solutions that are available to solve the challenge that sits ahead of us.
Yeah. And how are you finding the aviation industry itself in sort of embracing this? That it's quite. We spoke before we started the recording. Talked about how the aviation industry can often be quite slow to change, but they're highly regulated. You mentioned that already. So they've got to be very cautious about such fundamental changes as this. What's your feeling about how the aviation and airlines in particular are going to embrace this and help you develop it quickly?
Yeah, so I'm actually really amazed with the response that we've had over the past year or so, and more recently, especially with the partnership with Trailfinders, is that we've set up a sales team, and we've launched our offtake program, which allows airlines to purchase the fuel in advance, which I think is really a crucial opportunity to be able to think about the financing of the development of the industry, with how the offtake agreements are, how they work and how they're structured. But I've had a fantastic response. We've formally engaged about 15 clients, major airlines through to major family offices who operate multiple aircraft. So we're really excited. We've got our first couple of offtake agreements signed, and our approach is going to be very transparent. I'm also looking to set up a steering committee, an informal steering committee, to invite the airlines onto an advisory board, so that they can play a part in the development of the business, and I think building trust and the regulatory aspect, and giving full visibility, because it is a really important technology and product that we're developing. Is a great opportunity to invite the airliners into the development of the business.
What's the greatest challenge then? In terms of developing this, is it the regulatory side? Do you think the science is well known by you now, so that's going to work? Is it getting the regulatory side?
I think it's a good question. I've historically done a lot of work in delivery and delivery management, and I think especially if we look at some of the competitors who have done an amazing job to sort of progress the industry, I think we've got to get the job done, and I think we've got to get it done quickly. I think the tech is out there. I think the capital's out there. I think the customers are out there. So it's about bringing everyone together and and getting the job done.
If you feel like it's a bit not dissimilar to when there's a crisis, and obviously with your environment it's increasingly seen as being a crisis, but a bit like during COVID, it's amazing how quickly things can happen when the crisis is, you're in the middle of a crisis. Obviously the vaccine is a great example of that, where technology can suddenly take on leaps and bounds very quickly when there's a sense that this has to happen, and also everyone sort of pulls together.
Yeah,
is that the kind of ethos you're looking for in the industry now, to really say, look, we can't wait decades for this now, we need to really push on?
I think the industry has recognised the commercial opportunity with achieving net zero. I think there's a challenge where we need to communicate the technology and the science and how it works, and almost educate people in chemical engineering, essentially, and environmental engineering. Coming from a tech background, I think there's a lot of knowledge that everybody has on how technology and software works, and I can see the same happening within the chemical engineering and environmental space.
In the short time we've got left, let's just take a step back and talk about what this means as a UK startup pioneering something in the green economy. We hear a lot about the green economy, and I guess there's some doubts about what that really means. But this sounds to me like an example of something that could really put UK startups, UK science, UK businesses on the map on a global scale. Clearly that would be your vision, I'm sure. But is that what we're talking about here?
Yeah, I think it's absolutely huge, the opportunity, not just in aviation, but also within the broader climate challenge that we all have. And we have the brains and the technology and the ecosystem and the capital to be able to do this. We can deliver it.
Yeah. Do you think there's not enough sort of optimism out there about how technology can solve problems quickly? When people look forward, they kind of assume things are going to stay the same, we just need to do more of it, but actually technology can change the paradigm, can't it? And new ideas.
It's a revolution, it really is, and I think people are starting to recognise that it's this isn't just pie in the sky, let's pretend to have a solution. I know that the technology is there. As we progress, we're getting more and more proven with it through the synthesizing of the fuel, through the simulations and so on and so forth. And as we go through this year, I'm very, very optimistic that we can have a complete engineering design and synthesized methodology of how to produce this fuel at scale. And the big picture is that we have to change the way that we're doing things because it's killing the planet.
Yeah.
And we have the hydrocarbons and the energy all around us that we can use to make this fuel, and that for me is what's really exciting.
Just accessing it. Crystal ball time, it's difficult, I know, but we're sitting here, March 24. Where do you see this? What's the time scales you think we're talking about here? What point are you going to be seeing aircraft flying around the planet with Avioxx fuel, in them, and no longer reliant on traditional?
Yeah, well, I think the industry
fuel?
Is moving quickly. I think we saw Virgin Atlantic that flew their first SAF fueled plane from London to New York in November, which was an amazing achievement. So I think with the idea and the tech is proven, now it's about the price and scaling it as quickly as possible. So I like I say, I think in a year's time we'll have got all the detailed design and planning delivered, and then this time next year I'd like to be spades in the ground, building the first plant.
Yeah, great. It is a supply side issue, isn't it? The demand is just sitting there waiting for the supply to come up to speed, and this is the problem. It's actually the problem with the aviation industry in general. There's no lack of demand out there. It's just the guys struggling to actually meet that demand and supply. So it's a good place to be, but it's a challenging one, I suppose.
It is a challenge, but that's what makes it exciting, and also I think that's what helps focus everyone, because people can see the challenge and also see the benefits that it can bring.
Yeah. Look, lovely. That's great, and we've run out of time, unfortunately. But it's been great to speak to you about this, and we're good. We're glad to be on sort of the beginning.
Thank you. It's really good. I appreciate your time as well.
We will track your progress with great interest, and no doubt be writing more about what happens down the line as you develop this, particularly with the factory coming on stream up in the northwest. So best of luck with it, Chris.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thanks very much for the interview, and we'll definitely stay in touch.
Lovely. Thanks for speaking to us today. We're delighted that our friends at Amadeus have agreed to be the launch sponsor for ABNcast. And while they do not endorse the opinions and views expressed, they are keen to support a new forum for open discussion and debate around the future of aviation. Amadeus's technology powers the global travel and tourism industry, inspiring more open ways of working, more connected ways of thinking, always with an eye on how the industry can evolve, on how the travel industry can better serve travellers, bring people together, explore new experiences, and do business. Travel should be meaningful and personal, and it must be centred around the traveller, which is why Amadeus is investing to create their technology to put more power into people's hands. As an industry, we only progress by working together, and Amadeus's open platform is connecting the entire global travel and hospitality ecosystem. Our environment, our communities, and our destinations matter. Together with our customers and industry partners, Amadeus is working to make travel a force for social and environmental good, and ABNcast will be placing a specific focus on these themes in future editions. To find out more, visit www.amadeus.com and make sure you subscribe to ABNcast, which you can do on Aviation Business News' YouTube channel or on Spotify, so you don't miss out on any future edition. And please tell your friends and colleagues all about us. Thanks very much.